Now, you are dealing with an area that actually was West Bengal's competitive advantage, agro-processing, tea, and this. How can we leverage that? How can the new government leverage some of the things that you're doing? And what would you expect from the new dispensation when it comes in May?
Sure. You started by talking about West Bengal as the leading state in the country. We cannot have the same industries. You know, that during the leading years, it was managing agency, Jomidari, the largest port. Those things are not going to come back. We'll have to find other sources of advantages of West Bengal. And West Bengal has 95 million people, huge consumption base. And things like agro-processing, how we can not only produce, but market, and use that as a launch pad for global marketing. For example, making Darjeeling tea for, we had Feluda just before this. Feluda's favorite tea was Makaiwari. So use that to promote Darjeeling tea, and then from Darjeeling tea, how it goes globally. Similarly, in terms of manufacturing, we were talking about MSMEs, labor-intensive manufacturing, like in textiles. Not just manufacture textiles and be like Bangladesh, but also create textile brands and then have internet-based brands which can ship directly to the consumer around the world. For these, what is important is not so much what the government does, but creating institutions of training, design, and use the capability of West Bengal in being creative, in having in the world ICE, entertainment, communications, and those sectors. That will be a differentiator. We need to do all the things that Harsda said and Mr. Kanoria said and Mr. Ghosh said. That we need to, but that will only take us to the level of other states of India. But what can differentiate West Bengal is that we can tell a story, we can imagine, we can design, and makes life more interesting for consumers around the world. And that can be our plus to make us into a #1 state. Going back to the days of 1900s, where you had Jomidari and managing agency is not going to be a solution to take us back.
Great. We have time, I think, only for one more round of questions. And let's focus on, now that we've laid some agenda for the new government that's to come in, let's look at center-state relations. And you've had a dispensation here that was adverse to the central government. What do you think should be the center's approach? What do you expect of the center to do for West Bengal? We've now asked for the state. What are the things that you think the center should focus on to make not only just West Bengal industry perk up, but also, as we talked of, being the gateway for Northeast and maybe East Asia as well, Southeast Asia?
Well, in Indian context, the center and state have to work together because there are so many things that emanate from the center. So obviously, it has so happened that West Bengal has had a government which was always different than the party in power, and so this has been a contentious relationship right through at least the last 40, 50 years. The question is, can there be cooperation within this federal structure? I mean, which party will come in which center or the state is for the people to decide. But I think there could be a more healthy relationship between the two to work together at least for infrastructure projects and things which are of national importance. We are a border state. We are an important part of the Look East policy. And I think, therefore, the maturity has to come in the political dispensation on both sides to rise above the politics and to actually look at it as an important peg in the development of the country. I'd like to pick up one more idea that Rudra referred to. It's very important that we don't look at development with the same lens that we look at development in every part of India. In fact, India should start looking at complementarities of different regions because we have our own different traits and we have our own different capabilities. It is not necessary that every kind of manufacturing that happens in some other part of India must necessarily happen in Bengal.